G'day guys, my name's Alex. Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to take you through an upper body warm-up for a rugby player in the gym. In this session, it's going to be broken into three little parts. We've got our mobility section. We're then going into an activation section, a little bit more mobility, and then we're finishing with potentiation. And it's going to take you no more than 10 to 15 minutes for when you're in the gym and once you get the sequence right. By the time you finish watching this video, you're going to have a nice little warm-up that you'll be able to implement straight away tomorrow that's going to get you fired up and ready for your upper body session in the gym. So guys, if you do like what you see today, if you don't mind dropping me a little subscribe and a cheeky like, I'd be much appreciated. Otherwise, let's get into that video.
So diving right in guys, shoulder dislocators, not the nicest name, but it is one of the nicest exercises for your shoulders. Grab a red power band or a broomstick. I prefer a red power band because when it gets to those really tight spots for me, which is just behind my head, I can pull the band apart just that little bit more, and this allows me to pass through and get around behind my back. Also with the power band, you're actually able to apply force and you can be more active through the movement as you are pulling the band apart. I then like to go around the world with this, pulling the band apart. This allows me just to open up my shoulders even more. I'd go anywhere between 2 sets of 10 to 15 repetitions. Now it's a classic, and I know everyone's seen this before, but just banded external rotations by my side, going out to the side, left and right shoulder. Once again, 2 sets of 10 to 12 repetitions. The weight is not very heavy. I can then come across the body and go into internal rotation. For the sake of this video, I am going quicker and doing less reps than I usually would, but just make sure when you're doing it at the gym, you do have the time. It's only going to take you between 10 and 15 minutes to do all these exercises. We can then go on to a 90 degrees external rotation. Now this is where I'd like you to spend more time. Really get that shoulder at 90 degrees, rotating up to the top. As we rotate up, the elbow should not drop down. You need to maintain that shoulder in that position. Keep that elbow up nice and high and rotating up and above. When we go on to do a 90 degree shoulder internal rotation, we're going to pop the band up that little bit higher. Same principle. We've got to keep our elbow nice and high and don't let your elbow drop as you do the downward motion. Try to make sure that there's almost a rod going through your elbow into your shoulder and you're just pivoting on that point. You're not going down, you're keeping it nice and still, nice and stable. This is going to work those internal rotators of your rotator cuff. Now that my cuff is nice and warm, I'm going into a banded face pull just to activate and engage those posterior muscles of the shoulder, such as your rear delt and your teres muscles. These are very important when doing any sort of vertical or horizontal push movement of the upper body. So I will then pair this with a banded pull apart for the exact same reasons, just to isolate that posterior cuff. I'm not spending a lot of time here because the whole point of this warm up is to just get warm. Now I don't need to remind anyone of that awful Larry Wheels video where the guy tore his pec. I like the standing banded pec fly, but this could be a dumbbell pec fly. I'm just trying to move that band across my body, engaging that pec, getting it to warm up. I'm loosening it, I'm contracting it by doing the pec fly. Now just to warm up those anterior delts, I'm just going for a straight up front raise. All these motions can be done with the dumbbell. There's nothing special about it being done with the band. You've just got to make sure you do it in the right position. If you're doing a dumbbell pec fly, you want to be lying on a bench. Obviously, don't do it in standing. Now that I'm warm, I'm going to get into some prehab exercises. I use this kettlebell press to really work on my stability muscles like the rotator cuff, but a little bit more dynamically because I've got to control that kettlebell as it's upside down, and because I'm in a half kneeling lunge position, I can't cheat. It's all coming from my shoulder girdle. Try to press with your elbow out in front of you as much as possible. Stick with a really light weight. This is only 10 kilos and it's really challenging. As contact athletes, we don't have the best shoulders, so make sure you work on that. Just to warm myself in that overhead press position, you may or may not want to add in some banded overhead presses. It's just a nice way, once again, to warm up in those range of motions that you're going to be doing. If I wasn't doing shoulder press today, I wouldn't be adding that one in. However, if you're doing some sort of incline bench, or if you're doing a push press, or just a stock standard military press, I would encourage you to have that banded exercise in there. You want to warm up in that position. Now by this point, some of you might be thinking this is a really long warm up, but one of the worst things you can do is get to the bench and spend 8 sets trying to warm up, and then your top sets you won't be able to push as hard because you've taken so long. We just want to get potentiated, we want to get fired up, which is why I add in 3 sets of push-ups. I start with my normal position, a wide position, and then a narrow position to make sure the pec and triceps are warm. Now it's time for a little break. When we bench, we need to arch our back. So doing some modified cobras, we don't need to go all the way up, but just trying to work our mid-thoracic. We're not trying to get too much lumbar extension here. A little bit is good, but we're trying to get our thoracic nice and loose. By working our thoracic extension, we will get into a better bench position. These sideline thoracic rotations are excellent. Try to keep that top leg on the floor, reaching back to try to touch the floor behind you. You can hold that leg down with your opposite hand as you work into your rotation. I am doing this quicker than I usually would do just to make sure you guys can get through as much of this video as possible. Now, of all the exercises, this is the key. It may not seem like much, but potentiation is the name of the game. We want to make sure that we're clicking, we're firing, and we're ready to get underneath that bar. So I like to do clap push-ups or a lying on your back vertical med ball throw where we're chucking that thing, we're getting as high up off the ground as possible. Now, only a couple sets. I might do one set of 3 to 5 or 2 sets of 3 to 5 depending on how I feel on the day, but this is about me moving quickly, not about me getting tired.
Guys, I really hope you learned something in that video today. Just a reminder, if you do like what you see today, leave me a like. If you have anything that you want to see, leave me a comment and I'll add it to the list. Otherwise, guys, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for subscribing and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.